Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to dive into the 7th session here at the AiM conference, which is about promoting sustainability to reduce development cost. I think we've already set in stone in this conference that sustainability has now definitely become more than a buzzword. It is no more a buzzword, and it's a strategic imperative that definitely goes beyond environmental consciousness. Today we'll explore with this session and in this session how embracing sustainability or sustainability practices not only contributes to a healthier planet but also can be a game changer for your business by reducing developmental cost and creating lasting value. So I hope all of you are ready to get some fantastic insights on promoting sustainability to reduce development cost, and I would now like to invite onto the stage our moderator for this session, Mr. Ishan Kaul, the director at Naz Hotel Consultants. Please join me in welcoming him with a big round of applause. From industrial training at Four Seasons Sydney to roles at Crown Plaza, Gurgaon and Holiday Inn, Singapore, Ishan brings an international experience to our panel today. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our moderator, Mr. Ishan Kaul. I'd like to invite our first panelist, Mr. Amit Nagpal, Regional VP Development at Hyatt Hotels and Resorts. Mr. Amit has played a key role in enhancing Hyatt's distribution in India and Southwest Asia region for more than 13 years, and he has a holistic experience of over 25 years in the hospitality industry. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Amit Nagpal as he joins us as a panelist in this session. We'd also like to invite our second panelist, Mr. Devashish Srivastav, to kindly join us onto the stage. Instrumental in establishing Radisson as a major player in South Asia, Mr. Srivastav leads the growth vertical, contributing to the addition of 70+ hotels in the company's portfolio. With over 15 years of developmental experience, he has held key roles in various organizations. Very glad to have Mr. Srivastav join us. Our next panelist, Mr. Jacob Puraktal, Senior Director Development at Hilton. We'd like to welcome him with a big round of applause as well. Mr. Jacob has been a key figure in Hilton's portfolio growth and has led to the openings of landmark hotels in the region. With a background in architecture and an MBA from Iowa State University, he brings extensive expertise in hotel development, M&A, and capital markets. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd also now like to invite onto the stage Mr. Sahil Agrawal, Managing Director, Shankar Group, to kindly join us onto the stage. And Mr. Agrawal here has transformed the family business into a major player in Nepal's steel industry, employing over 10,000 people. And with over 20 years of experience, he also excels in manufacturing, service, and trade. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Agrawal as he joins us as a panelist as well. Our final panelist, ladies and gentlemen, would like to invite onto the stage Mr. Vikram Singh, General Manager at Aloft Kathmandu, Tamil for Marriott International in Nepal. Mr. Singh is a seasoned hospitality professional with over 2 decades of diverse experience in Asia, Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, leading with distinction in design and innovation. We are very glad that Mr. Vikram Singh could join us as a panelist for this session. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is all set for our 7th session here at AiM Conference and Exposition. We're starting with a group photograph so that we can frame it and it can be ready by the time the panel is over. Again, ladies and gentlemen, a reminder that the topic of discussion is promoting sustainability to reduce development cost. A fantastic topic to discuss on, to dwell on. We also request the audience to be active. Ladies and gentlemen, now I hand over the proceedings of this session to our moderator, Mr. Kaul.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 12th edition of AiM. And I would like to extend my thankfulness to all the people who have been participating in this event. Sustainability, I think we've been talking about this topic from yesterday, and I believe this is the need of the hour. We've understood a lot of measures or the opinions of and recommendations of people who've been coming here and defining the whole sustainability thing. I believe from yesterday there was a presentation a gentleman gave in, wherein two things I really liked about that presentation was he said that, instead of saying go local, why don't we implement that? And then he conducted the whole presentation in Hindi. तो कल पूरी रात मैं भी थोड़ा असमंजस में था, वो बोलते ना किम कर्तव्य विमोड में था कि should I also follow the same footsteps of him? But then I realized, it's better. I'll keep the medium as English in a very colloquial way, what they say. And let's see, we'll throw some more light upon sustainability. The other thing which I really liked about in that presentation, wherein he briefed up sustainability in 3 R's, which is reduce, recycle, and reuse. So बड़ा संक्षिप्त में मैंने अभी बोला है. I guess we should do some the same विस्तार में चर्चा करते हैं sustainability और how does it affect the project cost and the development cost. To start with, I think I'll ask, and the best part is we have the brands and the owner on the same platform. So I believe it's going to be a very interesting brainstorming session for that. To start with, I'll start with, right. So Amit, what do you think, if you can throw some light or the perception of sustainability in terms of hospitality industry, what are some core elements and how do you see the whole perception for the same?
Hi, good evening, everyone. With Hyatt, we have a strong program called World of Care, under which we have a lot of focus on sustainability, because there is a focus on ensuring that every location that we have, we're doing something to reduce waste, to ensure, very interestingly, there is a lot of food waste as well that goes on. Almost 1/3 of the food that gets consumed in hotels go to waste. So we have very strong programs, and they're very objective programs as well, wherein we focus on each of these segments as we go along during the session. I'll talk more about it, or about how to reduce water, what all we do, what do we do as far as reducing energy is concerned, how do we save energy, and also as far as food is concerned as well, and many other ways that we can do during the operations of the hotel as well.
Great. So, Devashish, if you also can throw some light on, as I mentioned, the need of the hour topic, the whole sustainability, and how is Radisson looking to integrate the same in the system?
On a lighter note, Ishan, I just want to know, what do you call sustainability in Hindi?
I didn't find out that one, but मैं कोशिश की थी कुछ words मैं use करूं, but you're right. I think I'll find it out for you.
I take a lot of pride in my Hindi, and I was wondering, I don't know the meaning of the word sustainability in Hindi. Anyway, I have a habit of going back to the books. Sustainability for me is consuming anything which is limited from natural resources, and anything wherever you consume anything which is limited in terms of natural resources, that is unsustainable. And developments by virtue, and developments are important, but developments by very virtue are contrary to sustainability. Developments are unsustainable. So what are sustainable developments? Wherever we can optimize or make efficient use of natural resources, that is, according to me, are sustainable developments. These are not 100% secure, but we are trying a bit, all of us. In terms of how Radisson Hotel Group looks at sustainability, I would actually tell you something about it. I was having a chat with Inga, who is our global head of responsible business. And I was chatting her about the very title of this session, which is promoting sustainability and reducing development costs. And she said that somehow I feel the title by itself should have been future-proofing buildings so that they don't become stranded assets. What she meant was, we've been talking about sustainability for decades now. And over those many decades, what has happened is that what was a part of best practices at one point has turned into necessity now. And very soon it will turn into urgency. And that's what she meant. if we don't start following that urgency, if we don't have that sense of urgency when it comes to sustainable developments, very soon we will be in trouble. That said, just to throw in some figures, the role of hospitality industry in general, Sustainability Hospitality Alliance magazine says, research by Sustainability Hospitality Alliance says that hospitality industry needs to reduce its carbon emission by 66% per room by 2030 and by 90% by 2050. Huge numbers. We have a long way to go. And are we doing enough? That's something probably I'm not the most literate, most knowledgeable person to comment on, but at RHG, in bits and pieces, or sometimes in a very holistic way, we are trying for sure. We have a target of reaching net zero by 2050. So that's what my take
Great.
is.
I guess, the topic which you touched about the carbon emission, which is very nice. Even I was doing some research about the same. Jacob, what do you think? How's Hilton thinking about the whole sustainability thing? And is there something you want to add up to what Devashish and Amit said?
So first of all, I don't know what sustainability means in Hindi, okay? So I'm not going to answer that question, right? Sustainability as a topic, right, it's vast in scope, but I guess it's possibly the most urgent in need today. All major hotel companies, are running initiatives focused around sustainability, right? So I think everyone's doing a great job around it, but there's still a lot more to be done. At Hilton, Hilton's been among the first major companies to sign up under the Science-Based Technology Targets Initiative, under the Paris Agreement, under which we are committed to reducing our carbon footprint by 61% by 2030, and our water usage and wastage by 50% by 2030. And unfortunately, when we talk about sustainability, the focus tends to go back onto, aspects like energy efficiency, water consumption, right? I mean, reduction of waste, etc. I'm not saying that these are not important, but I think we need to start looking at sustainability in a far more holistic manner. And to me, this starts from the design of hotels itself, right? I mean, how do you incorporate elements in the design of a hotel that would not only reduce carbon footprint, but also reduce development costs, which I think is the main topic of today. And I would be happy to, share my thoughts on this as we go along this discussion.
Sahil ji, welcome. मैं जानना चाहता था ये एक ब्रांड का व्यू पॉइंट था. So what do you think as an owner, like, how, because you'll be able to answer it better, how do you think that sustainability and the project cost goes hand in hand, and what are your viewpoints on the same?
So just a bit off the topic, my kids, they go to American school, and they used to say that, Dad, why do you run all these factories? Why are you polluting the country? Please close down everything. So, it's for a businessman living in Nepal, which is an underdeveloped country. Our country presently has 80% forest coverage, which is one of the highest in the world. It's a very, very difficult question because we are heavily underdeveloped. We need a lot of infrastructure, but at the same time, we have to be sustainable. It's difficult because, there are developed countries which have created their infrastructure at a much earlier stage, and today everyone talks about sustainability and, how important it is to protect the environment. But, it's very important to have a balanced path. For countries like Nepal, both sustainability and development are important hand in hand. In terms of hospitality, Nepal being a tourism country, it has a huge prospect for, even 10, 15 million tourists coming to Nepal, but we don't have the infrastructure. So how do we do it? Obviously, the best thing would be to having, the buildings or the infrastructure to be more sustainable, has to be more built in a way which use more local material. It has to have facilities to recycle, use minimum, and stuff like that. But at the same time, we cannot say that we will not build, or we will not, we will not develop the nation just because we don't want to, disturb the nature. So it has to be a balanced approach, I feel.
That was a very good answer, very, very direct and very good. Vikram, you're spearheading this beautiful hotel, and I would say that, the service and the food is excellent. Being a general manager of this hotel, how do you think and what is your viewpoint in terms of the sustainability and how, as Devashish mentioned, it is the urgency right now to make sustainable hotels?
So I think we heard everybody's view. My view is a little, I don't think sustainability is a choice anymore. It's a must. So you see the evolution of sustainability over the last few years to some of the presenters who've been talking about their product, they lead to the development. Now in context of this discussion and sustainability, I think it starts from the planning stage. Marriott has, and all brands have it in their charter. Now, most of us touched upon some ways of operational side of it. In the development side of it also, we had the last presentation where we was talking about his pipes and how, you don't need to have 5 layers of insulation around it, you can just reduce it down. Previous to that, the gentleman was talking about windows which generate solar energy. Now, these things are all bits and pieces on the construction side of things. One of the luckiest thing that we have in Nepal, as Sahil was touching upon the subject, is where I believe that we have, as the studies go, the high potential to give hydropower-based energy, or which is clean energy, to power entire Asia. Right now, we have surplus energy, hydropower energy in Nepal. So all these hotels, buildings, etc. are powered mostly by clean energy. So, not many countries in the world can actually say that. For a country which is so far behind in a few things, it's very ahead in terms of a few things as well. So ladies and gentlemen, I think most of you are also aware, and I'm slightly digressing from this topic, but 10,000 megawatts over the next 8-10 years of hydropower are going to be taken by India from Nepal. So when you talk development, I think one of the main topics in development which people mix up in sustainability is also where are you generating your end energy from? And I must say we are very proud in Nepal that we have almost got 80% plus clean energy generated here. It's not coal, it is not nuclear, it is not other sources of energy. So that's one on the development side of things. On the operational side of things, when you build a hotel, as we are discussing, you don't build a hotel for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's a long-term, slow burn investment. I think Sahil can identify that. But coming back to that, now when you're looking at an ROI, today's generation is not looking at doing business with people who do not have sustainability at the core of their business. They're just not going to come. We've seen people who pay you more across the world for staying in a sustainable energy. And now comes the other side of sustainable energy, that when you're doing sustainable technology and products, like we saw the windows, we saw the piping, in Aloft we do from door locks, etc., they reduce the cost of operations, manpower, and when you're building a product, you're also looking at the return on investment. So this operational reduction dovetails back into your product. So I think like a circular economy, which sustainability creates, sustainability itself is a very circular thing which starts from the planning and ends up. So that's my 2 bits on this.
That's really nice. In fact, you touched upon the topics I was about to ask in the session, wherein the million-dollar question is, and mostly all owners ask, is the financial implications of sustainability. In terms like, when we are doing sustainability, the capital cost may go up, and how does it, as Vikram mentioned very rightly, what is the ROI for the same? I would like to start with the brand, like, Amit, you're sitting right next to me. So what do you think, like, going or increasing that capital cost, will that impact, or probably Vikram said it's a 10-year, 12-year, 30-year game. Do we get the same ROI by using the sustainable products?
So I think if I'm in owner's shoe, I will evaluate various options that are there and what is my project cost and for whatever hotel that I'm building. There are costs, so I'll take examples. Something like, to have LED lights today, it's so much easier and it's cost effective as well. So that's a solution which is very simple and it's a no-brainer. There are solutions like if I take room automation, which is basically replacing the card that we put as we enter the room. What is happening? I don't think so those cards are successful because everyone, they either put their card or they get card from somewhere and they keep putting it and they just leave the room. So it doesn't really work. So there is a technology called room automation, which is mandatory as far as Hyatt is concerned for every new hotel. Now, yes, there is a cost to it, but it works on heat, on movement, and various other factors that are there. And based on that, it basically brings, if the room is empty, it brings up the temperature to a certain level, whatever we said. So yes, room automation may cost you a little bit more, let's say 15, 20,000 bucks per room. But over a period of time, it's very sustainable. And if you start looking at the ROI, it works quite a bit. The math definitely adds up. So I think as an owner, I need to see what all options do I have. Is it making sense for me? Is it in my budget or not? The ones, I mean, there are all kinds of people, somebody who's really passionate about sustainability, which I think all of us should be. Those guys will go an extra mile and look for all the other options. But there are guys who are not and probably don't have the budget for it, then they can look at very simple options as well.
Great. Devashish, what is your take? How do you convince owners to, just to go ahead with this urgency of sustainability?
So, first of all, about the cards that you put in the key slot. I had a funny incident wherein I checked into a hotel room. I won't name the brand. And the room was on already, and there was something in the key slot. There was something which was folded into the shape of a key card, and what was it? It was that, in the washrooms you have those cards which say don't throw your towels, use them again. So, quite a...
I've seen few things. I've seen different level things of going in those key card holders.
See, Ishan, as far as owners are concerned, and I will touch upon this bit on what kind of discussions take place with owners when it comes to sustainable developments, or whether there are any discussions at all or not. I'll touch upon it later, probably once we do the third round of it. I have to save some content for that as well. But it's the difference between instant gratification and a long-term choice. As we said earlier, sustainability is no more an option. It's an urgent thing to happen. And very soon what will happen is, and probably it's already happening, I read it somewhere that 71% of the owners, when they acquire an asset, as part of their due diligence process as well, they like to understand how sustainable a hotel is, what is its sustainability index. And that is something that probably we will have to keep educating our owners around, that it's not just about investing once, it's about looking at the future. As Vikram was saying, you build these hotels for, I don't know how many years, 40 years, 50 years. And times can change. You can save some money right now, but eventually you may have to sell it. And what happens if one day sustainable hotels become the only option and your valuation goes down? And it may happen. It may not sound so practical just now, but it may happen very soon. So yes, owners may not want to have those sustainability discussions right up front. They may want to save certain costs, but probably now is the time when we have to keep educating them for long.
Jacob, आपके साथ ही ओनर बैठे हैं, and आपको कितना convincing लगा, to tell him कि sustainability important है और कैसे project cost में, like, how is it going to change the project cost and the returns? So whatever you will be answering, he's going to answer next.
So I think Shahil's a fantastic owner who understands this far more than I, so I didn't need to explain too much to him. But, just coming back to your question on the ROI, right? The simple answer is there is ROI on this. I mean, hotel's not a short-term asset, it's a long-term asset, and savings that you find from some of these, from some of the technology that you implement in hotels, there definitely is ROI. But again, everything does not have to be about technology, right? I mean, for example, now in most hotels, we've all started implementing the water bottling plants. And in an earlier session, I heard Mr. Bakaya talk about a simple RO line in every hotel room. And I was just thinking, what a fantastic idea, right? I mean, to have a simple RO line in every hotel room. And think about the savings that you find and think about the carbon footprint that you would have saved. Take a simple example like a bottle, right? I mean, imagine the carbon footprint of a bottle from the time it's manufactured to the number of times it's washed, to the number, to its bottling, to its consumption, etc. And you take that all away with a simple RO line in your room where a person can just take a glass of water. And we've got to start thinking about such simple solutions in rooms. I mean, technology is not the answer for everything. I was speaking to my colleague Senthil, who heads our AD&C team, right? And when we look at hotel rooms, I think hotel room design has stayed the same over the years, right? I mean, we may have moved from halogen lights to LED tubes, but you still find the same number of light holders on top. What if we could take away some of these light holders or light fittings that we have, maintain the same lux levels, but just take away 1 unit of light from your false ceiling? And imagine the amount of money that you would save, both in terms of, just implementing something, the cost of that one light holding, its carbon footprint, and, your cost of running that one light holding. I mean, there's a famous case study back in the 80s, right, when American Airlines, I think, was looking at cutting costs. All they did was they took out 1 olive from every salad that was served in flight. And the savings that they found was $40,000 a year. And we've got to start looking at some of these initiatives, not just because they save on costs, but they actually save in terms of carbon footprint and your energy consumption. And we've got to look at such simple initiatives to promote sustainability, apart from the technological, innovations and implementations that we do across hotels.
Great. Salji, I guess, you're making a hotel. So how do you think, was Hilton very persistent that, you should use certain measures which increase the project cost, or how is it, and how do you look in terms of the whole ROI thing?
So, what I feel is anybody who's building a hotel, any businessman, their first target would be to build the hotel. They most probably have a budget or something in the mind, and their first target is to build the hotel. Nobody thinks that, okay, I'm building a hotel, I should, save water or save energy. That's not their first priority. But, when you have experts, when you have consultants, when you have experienced brands, they tell you that if you do this, this is your ROI, and this is the savings, and this is what you contribute back. So most of the owners, they understand it if there is a decent ROI. And I think, as Jacob was mentioning, whether it's the water bottling, whether it's the LED lights, whether it's the solar panels on your roof, most of the things which are sustainable, which might be a little expensive, but they have ROI, But there might be things which are, not every hotel can afford, like the room occupancy sensors. If it's maybe a 2-star hotel with a limited budget, they might not be able to afford it. But most of these things do have ROI. And that's why the owners are more interested to put it, or to invest on it. I don't believe that, today, if someone is building a hotel, they are not cautious about these things. They are cautious about these things, but yeah, they might not have complete knowledge. For that, they have the right consultants, they have the right brands, they have the right guidance. And for me, it was not difficult at all. From Hilton or from, my consultants, I had, whatever we could do, I think we did, and I don't think we had any problems in taking any of the decisions where, our investment was little higher, but our savings will be good in the long term.
See, that's great. You've been answering very right in terms of yes, I do agree also the same. The development cost would go up, but at the same time, we are looking for the next 30, 40 years of the game, and the way sustainability is moving, I guess it will become that urgency, and maybe the valuation of the hotel also goes up for the same. Vikram, you've touched upon this topic of the ROI. Would you want to go into the detail, how do you think, the return justifies the whole project cost increase?
So I think Sahil explained it wonderfully. In my terms, I think it's the same, that today you have very educated owners who have a lot of consultants around them who know exactly what to do. I mean, the cost of a 1-star or a 2-star in terms of what they do versus a 5 and a 4 may be very different. We had Mr. Mathur speaking on, the processes and how they are doing stuff in India. We have great architects and owners. We have the Dusat Princess owner sitting over there. We have Mr. Anil Sharma and, renowned architects over here. So, when you start planning it from that stage is where it makes a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately, what I've seen in my 20-25 years is that sustainability tends to be and I'm not talking brands, because why the world is moving into brands is that there's a whole thought process behind what is being done. But if you look at sustainability in the realm of, I'm sorry to say, even in some branded properties, but especially in the non-branded properties, just a very afterthought coming in. So, your architect or your interior guy will be toast, "Arey yaar, ye last minute, nahi yaar, 80% mera to, it's going to add X number of." So that's where most people tend to ignore it, because, they don't plan it from the start. The second part of it is that at the end of the day, whether you do it at 1% or 100%, आप घर पे भी तो करते हो, right? So I don't say that a 2-star guy where, it doesn't make sense, and Sahil touched upon it. Maybe he doesn't have that capital or the ability nor the ROI to look back and say, look, I can do it. But hey, he can still do the basic process. And Nirantarta is sustainability in Hindi is what I Googled. I may be wrong, but people can check on that.
To add on, Vikram, I just want to know, so we've talked about the financial aspects of it. So do you think, what are the implementation of these sustainable ideas? If you want to say, you give an example for this hotel, or probably what do you think, how can we implement sustainability over here? In fact, we had a good conversation last night where I really liked those, the dongas, what were the
Donas.
Donas.
What we call them in Nepali, I will pick up the
And
right word.
I picked up that thing, and it looked so nice, giving that impact of, going back to the nature. So that wonderful idea regarding that. And then we talked about that farm to table concept also. Would you want to elaborate on that too?
So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the food on
Absolutely.
the Dona as
Absolutely.
well. So let me. So basically, to put it into perspective, the credit is not mine on those ideas. The credit belongs to my team, whether it is my executive chef, my director food and beverage, and the whole team over here. It's their credit. They plan it through. But because the idea of this whole conference was sustainability, so we tried our best to make sure that, and I'll take a little time here if you don't mind, but when you talk about food, which comes to your plate, and I think Amit touched upon it as we started the question. So we deliberately make an effort to go out and say, what's made in Nepal? What are the ingredients which are done here? So we may go in Mustang to a farmer and say, listen, what is the quantity that you produce of Mustang aloo, and you had it in the, it's a little sweeter and one of the best potatoes I've frankly had in the world. So he says, look, I can produce X amount. We say, okay, can we take all of it? We'll buy it out. How do we help you? Don't put any artificial ingredients from compost to, the old fashioned, because Nepal still, thankfully, has very little of coloring and the other add-ons which are very famous in India, where you look at the food and, you may be, and I'm sorry, I'm not saying India, but there is a lot of things which go in. So we pick it up from the farmer, and he also develops it for us. So he also processes, and we work with these guys. ITC did it many, many years ago. And I was Mr. Suresh Kumar at that time, so we were learning. But we went to the farmers, we said strawberries are very good, potatoes are very good, avocados are good, a lot of products made in Nepal. So how can we actually take it from them and not get it from India, so the carbon footprint gets reduced over there? The second part of it is that it's a 360-degree product. What you take is what you give. So if you notice, we had some of the earthen for chai, typically, I don't think we've invented it, nor can we ever invent it. I think whether it is India, whether it is Nepal, we've had such a great cultural thing Funnily enough, what has happened is that our ancestors said a lot of things to us, which the so-called educated scientist says, nahi, this is not scientific, so please move away. And what are we doing now? We are just finding scientifically the answers that कॉपर में पानी किस में पिया जाता है, थाली में खाना खाया जाता है, etc. I'm sorry, I'm taking a little long on this, but I think what comes out must go in is the fundamental. In this hotel, we've tried our best. Also, like Mr. Mathur pointed out about the Pepsi Aquafina bottles in the rooms, but Mr. Mathur, we have RO plants and everything. However, in this country, we didn't have the bottling plant. We've just gotten it now. In 2 months, it will be there. But just to answer you, that our responsibility is, as a hotel, we have one of the only deals with Pepsi, where they take out, recycle the bottle back to the plant, and any plastic which is thrown out of this hotel is given back to the vendor, who gives us plastic credits. So our carbon footprint is also, we're trying our best to reduce it to whatever level we can, sir. And that is also part of the Marriott strategy. Unlike India, it's not a very mature market, Nepal. So it's very difficult, and Sahil would be, I think, agreeing with me, to do things which are very common in India, to do them in Nepal. There are obstacles from a whole lot of areas and a train of thought which says that, nahi yaar, what's the point of sustainability? So we have our challenges, but I do think that people with responsibility, which are 5 stars or 4 stars in this case, should lead the chain. And I know the Hotel Association of Nepal is also making a very deliberate effort to make sure that this country, in all shape and form, plastic can go away from this country over the next few years. So thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me that much of time.
No. So, Devashish, is there something RSG is doing in terms of implementing certain ideas, like, for saving energy or water conservation? Any examples you want to?
Lots of things, actually. And somehow I agree with Jacob that it's not just the technology, it is the way you do things. It's not just about what, it's also about how you do things. Yes, we've been implementing, we've been creating water bottling plants in various of our hotels. We have been focusing on promoting sustainability to the end users when we request them. There's a program wherein we request them, if they're staying for more than 2 days in a hotel room, they should try skipping the housekeeping. And every time they skip housekeeping, we donate to Just a Drop Foundation, which further helps a lot of families in water stress areas. On the food bit that Amit talked about, we have a thing called floss. It's not a thing that we have, it's everywhere. Floss is fresh, local, organic, sustainable, and there's one more thing, which typically talks about sourcing food locally, as Vikram mentioned. We also, 70% of our hotels have a no-bin Friday in their cafeteria. So basically, because the staff is a substantial part of food consumption in a hotel, and on those Fridays, there's no food wastage, at least from the staff side. 30% of our hotels also promote local food, which means they host farmers' brunches, wherein we promote that floss thing, as well as sourcing. The last S was sourcing, local sourcing. That floss thing, as well as we focus on food items based on millet. So there are so many efforts which are being made by Radisson Hotel Group when it comes to sustainability, and it's an ongoing process. And we've been discussing it at length, but things such as small things, such as having a smart room. I'll give you an example. Last night I went to my bed, and when you are in the mood to sleep, that's just that one moment when you can sleep, otherwise you skip it for the night, right? For long. And that's when you see one light switched on somewhere, you don't want to go and switch it off, right? So smart rooms, having master switches to be able to switch off those lights, otherwise you end up sleeping with the light on, and that's a lot of wastage of energy. So we've been implementing a lot of measures in our hotels. To give you a few more examples, Radisson Blue, Bangalore, at the outer ring road, that hotel is 100% dependent on renewable energy, which contributes significantly to their profit margins. Radisson Blue, Nashik, it sources energy through group captive, and that has actually helped reducing their energy cost by 60%. So, and there are so many hotels, Radisson Blue, Nagpur, Indore, Rakh Resort is an eco resort altogether. So many examples wherein owners are making a cautious and conscious effort to ensure that they contribute towards sustainability.
Amit, what about Hayat? You want to add on a few points? As in, I guess Devashish has covered most of it, but is there something that Hayat is doing extra?
Yeah, I think firstly, I think operationally it's far easier to do these, to take these measures. And I think brands are doing it, but I agree that we are still not there. Some hotels are doing a really good job, some hotels are still lagging. I think they're all in that direction, but some of them are lagging. I'll give you one or two examples that our Andas at AeroCity, what they do is to reduce food waste. Hyatt's global mission is that in the next 5 years, we'll reduce food waste by 50%. So in that hotel, what they do is, let's say if there is an event and there is leftover food, they will immediately pack it and in separate trays, and they will put it in an optimum temperature. They have tied up with an NGO called Robin Hood Army. They're basically volunteers who take that food and take them to areas where a lot of poor people live. And they basically donate food over there. And this happens on everyday basis. So they have, I mean, when I said that 1/3 of the food gets wasted in hotels, it's true. So this is a very simple measure, but yes, we need to find these kind of people who can assist us in doing things like this. This is one part of it. Then what about slippers that we use in the rooms? We can easily replace them with jute. The bags we can use, replace them with cloth bags. And there are many other things which we can do to ensure, I mean, small amenities bottles, plastic bottles are already getting replaced, which is, I think, definitely all the brands are already doing that. So there are a lot of small measures that we can take at the hotel, which are not very expensive, but I think it definitely adds to the ROI, and I think we should also brag about it as well. We don't brag enough because the new generation that's coming, as Sahil said, his kids, they look at these things. If they see a hotel which is probably more sustainable and they brag about it, that's how they get to know about it, they will say, okay, Dad, let's stay there. I don't want to stay in the other one. So I think there are a lot of things which we can do operationally. Most of us are focusing on it, but I think there are still a long way for the brands also to go. Yeah.
Jacob and Salji, I'll just probably combine the question because मुझे सामने से और साइड से दोनों तरफ से बोल रहा है कि टाइम की थोड़ी हमारी वो कमी है. So just want to say that do you think it is beneficial to by going green, and what are the benefits? Do you think people would prefer if, like, you highlighted that this is a LEED certified hotel, or probably this is a sustainable hotel? Would people pay extra for that, and do you see the future for that in terms of that? And I guess because I've combined, because you're the brand and he's the owner, so maybe you can give a joint answer for the same.
Some of you may know that I have a bachelor's degree in architecture, right? So I have my own viewpoints on LEED certification, which I don't want to share over here. So let's keep that aside, right? But, just coming back to initiatives, right? One of the initiatives that we run at Hilton Hotels, I mean, which, I'm really excited about, or I think that is a great initiative, is about soap recycling. So what we do at our hotels, I mean, the bars of soap that we use at hotels, which, people use it once and it's left behind, we collect all of that, it's taken to a central recycling plant, recycled, and then distribute it to areas where people don't have access to soap. And I think that's a great initiative, right? I mean, it's a bit of a social initiative, but it is also it's also a sustainable initiative because you're using something that's just been left behind. And as I was saying earlier, right? Sometimes these small measures go far, longer to promote sustainability than hard investments in technology, which I'm not saying are bad, but I'm just saying that we've got to look at these smaller things also, which actually help reduce cost and help reduce waste.
सर जी, आप सहमत हैं जो जेकब ने बोला है कि नहीं?
No, absolutely. What I would like to add is, it's important to kind of advertise it. I mean, I'm not saying in a direct way, but somehow, whatever the hotels or the brands are doing, it's important to highlight that, because it generally spreads awareness. It generally gives the public or the people the knowledge that what the hotel is trying to do, and it gives that awareness back to the people that we care, and this is what we are doing, and it just makes the society better. So I think definitely whatever you're doing, whatever the brands are doing, any hotel is doing, it's better to highlight it, it's better to talk about it within the staff, within the employees, within the community or the customers, so that people are aware and they get, they can add to it, rather than taking away from it. So I think it's always good, but as I mentioned initially, it is very important, for a country like Nepal to get developed, to build infrastructure and to have the balance. So we can't just talk about sustainability. We also have to be talking about development. We also have to be talking about the infrastructure required. Yes, but we should do it in the best way possible, by saving the resources and by reusing the resources.
Great. Vikram, to conclude, बोलते ना कि चर्चा में मज़ा तो बहुत आ रहा है, but एक छोटा सा संक्षिप्त सा जवाब आपका, do you get people out here like requesting that this is a sustainable hotel or what, or the queries, and do they prefer? Just a quick note on that, and then probably we'll conclude, or she'll just pull me out of the stage.
No, I'm sure. So, as the word goes, chai pe charcha, but charcha ke baad chai is ready, so I will wrap it up as soon as possible. I think everybody wants to head for chai. But just to wrap it up, I think today the world is a very conscious world. As I mentioned, children, I think this generation is going to force that change. Our generation typically a bit lazier. So, yes, a lot of guests do ask, but I think they're very well-informed guests. You can't tell them, they already research enough on your websites or your social media, etc., that what are you doing? I think on this discussion, the two sides of the coin of sustainability, the third impact which goes is also corporate social responsibility, which is as important in CSR. So I think from a perspective that we've been discussing, there are mature markets and there are immature and emerging markets. So each has its own, ebb and flow. But when we talk about these things, in India, you're very far ahead of Nepal in the context of things. But like I said, the one great thing in the development side of things we have over India is that we are hydropowered much more, and that's something which is a bigger carbon offset in terms of things. So we are going to meet the 2030 goals by that straight away fact.
Great.
The second part of it is that governments in mature markets give a lot of credit in terms of constructions and a lot of to developers, to incentives which make sure that they develop the cost. So the cost, for example, when I did hotels in Africa or in the mature markets, is that the government also is a part of that effort. Unfortunately, in these countries, not so much. It's an afterthought. But I'm sure, immature become mature in a point in time. So we are also, hopefully, the government incentives are going to kick through and so on and so forth. Touching on the operational side, I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm going to take 15 seconds. It's a topic very close to my heart. In this hotel, we do a lot of practices, including the soap recycling, including, like I said, with our limitations, we don't have agencies which take a lot of food and can do justice to that food. But what effectively the chef does here is that segregates the waste. So we do a lot of the waste in terms of if it's compliant goes to gaushalas, cows. The vegetarian, the leafy, the stuff like that, almost immediately, the morning. And we power through with the animal welfare that if it's a non-vegetarian waste, can we do something and feed the local stray dogs around? Because unlike India, there's a problem over here. So everything needs to have a solution. The solution may be technologically very savvy. And CSR is a big dovetailing of this process. And I'll wrap it up by saying that sustainability and technology met together during COVID. And this hotel never closed for a day during that time. So we could see the advantages straight out the bat.
Good. Devashish, you wanted to add something you were saying?
Just a quick one. I'll take 30 seconds. Am I audible? I'll just take 30 seconds. So, the theme of the discussion was promoting sustainability to reduce development costs. And my earlier point, whether these discussions take place with the owners, and I must confess something, that these discussions rarely take place in the first few meetings. And I think as people who are the first point of contacts for these people, who are high net worth individuals building hotels, I'm not talking about organized hoteliers or institutional investors, because they are much more sophisticated in their thought process and they can focus on sustainability. They talk about it more often. But high net worth individuals, as the first point of contact, probably it's our responsibility to start talking about sustainability, and probably we can even make sustainability as one of the effective pitching points, sales pitch points. We have not been doing it proactively. My team is sitting out there, and it's a message to them that probably my takeaway from this particular session is that, and hopefully when we meet next year for AiM again, I'll tell you a different story that we have been talking about sustainability with our owners in the first few meetings, and they have been making conscious efforts, and they have been trying to understand the costs involved in developing a sustainable hotel. So probably promoting sustainability starts here with Amit, Jacob, and me, and people like us.
And yeah, I guess the consultants are listening to this. Probably next time they meet owner, they should touch upon this topic. I leave the stage to the audience. Like if there's any question, I can see already one hand up. Two.
So I need to win because I need the money for the casino.
That's already the best question.
So, all right, to come back on to the first part of it so bit of an irony, I was recently in Hilton in Munich, and we talk about the systems which take the light off and automation. I have a different experience. So whenever I was tilting in my bed, the bed light was going on. So I figured out what the hell, and exactly that time when you either sleep or you just stay awake. So till the time that I had to put a shoe in front of it, I honestly had to do that so that I could bloody sleep. So that was on one side, on the funny part of it. Just adding to the sustainability part of it, because I'm possibly one of the only few people here who can answer that question, and you touched on it, I guess. In India, there is a possibility of open access, because I'm a developer myself and we're talking about hydropower and sustainability, to buy directly from the plants. And if the promoters are educated enough, or brands are updated, it is more sustainable. One, we did that with JW Marriott in Delhi. Two, it is more cost effective also. So I think there is possibly more information which needs to be working across the brands so that you can update your owners about it. But their loads need to be higher, because in open access in India, you have a certain requirement. I can't say the same about promoters here in Nepal, but most promoters would also have cross-holding. So if you're able to club it up, it's sustainable as well as there is a cost saving in it, for sure.
I guess that's very wonderful, because only for a fact I totally agree with you in terms of technology is important, but sometimes it's specific for a region also. There's a lot of things which happens in India and which doesn't happen in Munich. So anyone, Jacob?
I think that's more of a design issue. It doesn't happen I think the idea is that as soon as somebody steps there, the light should come on. It shouldn't come on if somebody is just moving in the bed. So that's something which I think is a design issue. I totally understand that. technology can sometimes cause issues as well. Sorry, go ahead.
So I think, what you're referring to is the GRMS system, right? The guest room management system, which is a sensor-based control system. Now, from what I understand, I'd ask Senthil to explain that little later. But from what I understand, you're still supposed to switch off the buttons. And what that does when you're sleeping is because it's detecting motion. And if it doesn't detect motion for, I think, 7 minutes, if I'm not, 7 to, yeah, it's 15 seconds. If it doesn't detect motion, it starts switching off. And the idea is that, the moment it detects that motion, even every 15, because I think as per studies, the human body makes a motion every 15 seconds. So when you're sleeping also every 15 seconds, you move. And that means the system stays active. But if it doesn't, if it doesn't detect any motion over that 15 seconds, the system switches off, temperature goes up.
Well, sir, I had a totally different experience to this, by the way. It's a design issue for sure. Because in washrooms as well, what happens is when you're not moving, the light goes off. And it even have is it and in more than one hotels, by the way. So it happens all the time.
So,
But I agree with you on one thing, that probably education is what needs to go through. And it's not going to happen in 1 year. I take my words back. But a constant effort towards educating people who are investing and giving them innovative
We have started it. We have started it.
We have started it, for sure. Giving them innovative measures, well thought about, informed measures to help them. Yeah, that's important.
Mr. Alex, yes.
good afternoon, sir. I'm Alex Stresser, architect practicing here in Nepal. So I have been designing various hotels and resorts over the past 15 years or so in remote areas of Nepal, from the Himalayan region to the south of the Tarai and so on. And I particularly have been practicing sustainable design, not because it is the requirement of today, since the past 15 years or so, but more of a prerequisite, because I don't have a choice. In the Himalayas, I don't have electricity, I don't have water, I don't have roads to get my materials upstairs. So from my experience, I just wanted to share that unless you are able to give economic reason to the developers, they are just not going to go sustainable at all. And it has to make economic sense for them in order for them to go sustainable. So in terms of development, which is the topic today, it's basically a reduction of investments, development investments, and increase of revenue. And that can be achieved, I think, right from the design point of view, where you actually look at things like the natural site advantages that you may have. For instance, solar, wind, slopes of the terrain, water sources. All these can be applied and used as an advantage, which will help reduce the development cost. Also, in terms of food, energy, water, and waste, we need to look at that. And I have designed a resort in Pokhara called the Pavilion Himalayas, which tackles all these issues, where it generates food within the resort itself throughout the year. It generates its own electricity through solar panels, 60 kilowatts. It has rainwater recycling, grey water recycling, from waste, from human sewage to your kitchen waste. We produce methane gas, which is used to cook food for the guest itself, and so on. So these are my few thoughts on my practices here.
Great, great.
I think all of us were waiting for a question at the end of all the description, but thank you very much, Mr. Alex. I think considering the time, I would like to request our panelists and our moderator, if our moderator has any closing remarks, and then we wrap this session up.
I think we can. Yeah, that's
All right.
fine.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our panelists, for our moderator. They definitely brought forward some fantastic points. We'd like to invite Mr. Cole to kindly join us onto the stage to felicitate all our distinguished panelists and our moderator. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for this fantastic panel that definitely brought forward some wonderful points. Mr. Singh already did research what is sustainability in Hindi. I asked ChatGPT as well, and ChatGPT told me that it is Satat Vikas. But what I loved more is how it said it refers to the concept of development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So I think that was beautiful. Thank you, ChatGPT.